Okay, hi guys, welcome back to the Audio Levels channel, welcome back to another review. Today we have the Oracle Mark II from Thieaudio. This is hotly anticipated because the Oracle Mark I was such a success. Before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Subscribers get to ask all sorts of questions down in the comments. Tell me what you're looking to buy, tell me your budget, tell me the type of music you're listening to, and if you're subscribed to the channel, I'm going to respond to you. It works like that. Now this is the Oracle Mark II. As I say, dynamic driver, balance armature, electrostatic drivers in tribrid configuration. You've got the dynamics handling the lows, you have the balanced armatures handling the mids, and you have the electrostatics handling the highs, and you have a little crossover in between that gives it all its little special juice. Now, the original Oracle mythical status tribrid earphone, $500-600, mind-blowing, fantastic, wonderful earphone, one of the ones that I recommend most in that tribrid hotly competitive category. The Oracle Mark II makes me wonder what the hell they were thinking, but yes and no. So here's the thing, straight before we get into the build quality, showing you the earphones and stuff, I want to just talk about the sound. You are essentially getting a Monarch tuning. Do not think of this as an Oracle Mark II. Think of it as a Monarch Lite, I guess, because the tuning is so far removed in the low end from the original Oracle that it doesn't make sense. The Oracle, for what it was so close to perfection for the price point that there is actually no need to issue a Mark II. Just go ahead and put it in the new housing and keep this sound exactly the same, then call it the Mark II. I don't know why they didn't do that. They could have labelled this one that they've done here, the Monarch Lite, or Monarch 0.5 or something. But does that make it a bad earphone? No, because essentially you're getting a Monarch tuning for $300-400 less than the Monarch. Top. Let's get into it. Box, awesome. Look how cool this design is. They've got this new ridge on the outside and the sort of explosions, galaxy stuff. I think that's really, really cool. It does give a little sense of anticipation that when I got it out of the DHL box, I was like, oh God, what's in here? Anyway, on the side, 11 ohms, 100 dBs, 1 kilohertz, frequency response, blah, 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 blah. 1.2 meter cable. Comes with a cable switching system that I'll show you in a second. And here on the side you can see the different configurations. So you have the Monarch, Clairvoyance, Excalibur, Oracle. Obviously this is the Oracle Mark II, so they've written it down here. And it's in universal, but you can ask them to make this earphone in a custom IEM, I believe, and it will come. They don't need to tick any of these boxes because you get all of them included. Throw that to the side. Presentation, a little bit sloppy today because I couldn't quite feel like reboxing it. The box, or the carry case, pretty generic Thieaudio branding on it, but it's nice, it's big. You can carry a DAP, the earphones, and a few sets of extra tips in it. Speaking of extra tips, you get plenty of them, but I did use these with the ASLA SendFit tips. I'm going to leave a link in the description down below so you can go and pick up a pair of those tips. They are so good, they grip the ear so well, and they perform such a nice seal that at this point, even my final audio E-series, which I'll also leave in the description below as an alternative for you, but for me, the ASLA's peak performance. This one here is the adapters for if you want to use it with different DAPs. Different DAPs and amps and DACs and stuff like that come with balanced adapters now, or jack points. So this is a 4.4 millimeter balanced. This is a 2.5 millimeter balanced, a little bit thinner. And then in the middle ground, you have the 3.5 millimeter that everybody knows and loves. So if you're using it straight out MacBook, plug it in there. No problem at all. If you're using a DAP that has balance, take advantage of the extra power and the cleaner power for using the balanced adapters. Very, very nice to see these sort of cables coming included now as opposed to an extra product sold separately. Let's take the earphones out and we'll talk about the cable first because the cable is pretty nice for a twist. Now, those of you that watch the channel know that I don't really like a twist. I find that it does retain a couple of kinks, although that as you wear it throughout the day will loosen off. But straight out you can see little kinks formed in it from just being wrapped up. But the cable feels really, really nice. It's got a really nice finish on it, and it's low in microphonics. The only thing that's really weird about it is the length of these ear hooks or the ear guides. That's really, really low. I would have liked to have seen it curved more and finish just behind the ear as opposed to coming down a little bit too far. I know you want to see the earphones, but not yet. There is that adapter system. I'll go ahead and show you how that connects. Basically, you just line up. You'll see that there's the 4-pin connectors and there's a little ridge at the top there. That will align with the ridge on the inside. And very hard to do when looking through the camera, but there you go. Clicks into place and actually does have a slight resistance locking system, unlike something like the Shure S12 that doesn't have a locking system at all, but you just twist to pop it off. Pop off. Okay. So now here's what you've been waiting for, and what I was waiting for when I first saw pictures of these, because jeez, these are so good looking. Now, they do not match. Look at this. What's going on there, Thieaudio? You've tempted me, but not quite. You've just put a standard faceplate on, but God, they are so good looking. This is not doing justice on camera. This sort of, it looks like an explosion happening inside the earphones. I know on camera it kind of looks like little bits of flaky metal and stuff put on the inside, but in real life, it's far more red, and it actually looks like an explosion happening inside the earphones. It is very, very trippy, and it moves. The explosion kind of moves as you move the earphones about. It is a very, very cool design, and something that I just can't stop looking at. I think it's the best looking Thieaudio yet, and they make some really good looking earphones. Anyway, it's an all resin body, medium size. It has little ventilation at the top of it, metal nozzles and metal grill guards there. And that's about it. It's a fairly standard resin body thing, but it is damn gorgeous. I really, really like it. Now, we need to talk about the sound, because that's what these earphones, that's what makes the tribrids so exciting. And with this is so hard to place, because it doesn't sound as good as a Monarch, but it sounds like a Monarch. But it costs $300, $400 less than a Monarch, $500 less than a Monarch. So you're essentially getting a Monarch tuning for way less, and it sounds bloody brilliant. It sounds fantastic. I would say it has slightly more bass, especially sub bass, than the Monarch as well, and it has maybe a little bit more treble extension on it, but it's a very similar tuning, and extremely similar across the mid-range on it. Extremely similar. And the way it presents and the way it throws the music at you is very aggressive, very forward-hitting, very... it's aggressive in the mids, it's aggressive in the lows, it's aggressive in the highs. It's just aggressive. It just throws music at you, whereas the original Oracle was far more balanced, far more neutral. It was more neutral in the... I think it's got similar mid-range, but it's the going side by side with them. The bass is way different, makes it sound like a completely different earphone. Doesn't make it sound like an evolution or a generational change. It also has a way more... this one, the Mark II, has way more treble extension on it, and that to me just makes it a completely different earphone. If you're going to tune something like the Monarch, call it a Monarch Lite or something like that, or we've taken the tuning of the original Monarch and we've made this new earphone at a cheaper price. I think that's better marketing than this, because there's no similarity other than the mid-range between this and the original Oracle. I recommend the Oracle for people that have a very balanced library with lots of different genres, are looking for a capable earphone that has good bass response, nice mids, and is very transparent, detailed, can be used for monitoring, can be used for mixing, can be used for professional work. This is far more consumer tuned in terms of it's got a more aggressive bass, which I think was like some people were wanting the tribrids to have more bass, but in that regard, at that price point, you have the Excalibur, which have more bass than the Oracle, and kind of fit that niche anyway. This, as I say, hits more like a Monarch, so To properly evaluate this, we need to completely disregard that this is called an Oracle Mark II. They should continue selling the Oracle. There was no need to change it. Change the housing, yes, because this new housing looks dope, looks so good. Change the housing, yes, but you don't need to change this earphone. This earphone, the original Oracle was so good, so premium, so still a top recommendation at its price point that I see no need to add anything extra to it. Now, in terms of thinking of this as a Monarch Lite, I think this is phenomenal value then, because I'm getting a lot of the tuning of the Monarch out of this, or the Monarch Mark II. The Monarch Mark II is $1,000, and this follows a very similar curve, albeit with a little bit more sub-bass extension that needs to be noted, and slightly more treble extension, but you're getting 90% of what you're getting from a Monarch out of this. So if the Monarch was something you were thinking about, but you don't have the price, you don't have the funds, this is a viable alternative now. Whereas before there was nothing that quite sounded like the Monarch in that price point in the middle. I mean, you had the Shure EJ07M, stunning tribrids, you had the Oracle, the Excalibur, you had the EST112 and the Mangrove Zens Up. They all serve their own independent purpose, but nothing quite hit like a Monarch. This hits kind of similar to a Monarch, and that's what makes it really, really good. Now, let's go into the frequency breakdowns, and I'm starting to do this thing where I'm going to split it into 4 categories. Most people go bass, mids, highs. I'm now going to talk mid-bass, so sub-bass, mid-bass, mids and highs. Sub-bass, impactful, punchy, powerful, detailed, rumble, droning, booming, whatever like comes into that area. This hits hard. This can hit hard. I'm not saying it's like Zen's Up level, but this punches so hard, and with that treble extension that I'll talk about in a second, EDM, that sort of music, electronic music, this absolutely slaps for electronic music. 2 feet, infected mushroom, all that good stuff, does really, really well there. Mid-bass texture and response. Now, I talked about this before in some of Thieaudio's thing. They have an overlap into the mid-bass where they actually extend the balanced armatures past the point of the mids into the into the mid-bass region. And I've talked to them about that before, like why they do it, and it's so that they can get the detail and the resolution out of the mid-bass, and they certainly do that here because the mid-bass sounds fantastic. It's very very detailed, very textured. Yes, you get that sort of rumble and hum that comes from the dynamic driver, the large dynamic driver moving all that air, but the balanced armatures pick up just that top end of the bass and throw in a little bit more detail, and for stringed bass instruments sounds excellent. The mid-range, I would say smooth, neutral, uncoloured, but a little bit more punchy and in your face than the original Oracle, especially when you get into the upper mid-range. It's just slightly more aggressive in attack in terms of the female vocals and the presence that you feel from that. I thought it sounded fantastic, and I thought the balanced armatures, even being only 2 of them, managed to replicate like guitar, stringed instruments very, very well. And then of course the electrostatic drivers handling the upper frequencies, these are pushed to the limits. I think there was 2 things that the companies seem to be trying to do, and that's pushing the bass and pushing the treble. They're trying to push the bass to appease the Western audiences that want more bass, but then you have Asia that have an emphasis on upper frequency in their music, like J-pop, J-rock and stuff like that, and you need to cater for that as well. So they've pushed both ends of that, and what you've actually ended up with is a wonderful EDM earphone. With that push in the treble, it can get hot sometimes, only sometimes, but it can be EQ'd back if you need that. But in terms of the energy and the soundstage sounded fantastic on this because of that treble. The treble's very airy, the electrostatics, no metallic sheen or anything on it. But sometimes, yes, a little bit overly bright in some areas. But if you're listening to EDM music, where those treble, the crisp, peaky trebles and into the bass drops that I always talk about, Damn, this hits hard with the peaks. Like, go for Tiesto, 7 seconds before sunrise. Sounds absolutely amazing. About 5 minutes when it crescendos and then drops. That sounds fantastic. Infected Mushroom Psycho, when it builds up for like 5-6 minutes, just before it has the one word in that song where it goes psycho, and then it drops into the very fast textured bass on it. That sounded absolutely incredible to me. Really, really good. Not going to be something as versatile for, say, rock or country, I would guess. Rock and country would benefit a little bit less in the lows and the highs, like a little bit more balanced in line and stuff like that. But I would say it's versatile, definitely more versatile than the Mangrid Zens. It's not as pure as the Oracle, so completely disregard this as an Oracle Mark II. They've just thrown a name on an earphone that's kind of completely different. I guess maybe they're saying because the driver configuration, but no, I would think of this more like a Monarch Lite. If you want Monarch tuning, this is the one to go for. But it's a beautiful, beautiful earphone, and it definitely has a purpose. So I'm going to be listening to this one a lot more in the up and coming weeks. So thank you very much for watching. Again, guys, that's it for another review. Lots of reviews coming up before Christmas. Please, if you like these sort of reviews, it really does help out. I'm not a big fancy channel. I get sent some stuff, but I buy a lot of stuff. Like the next video, I'm going to be talking about the Sony Link Buds that I actually just bought, and these are so good. That yeah, the XM4s can go eat one, and the AirPods can eat one as well. Well, Apple, because they're removing the SIM tray from everything, can go and eat one. So I'm changing back over to Android, but yeah, review of the Link Buds coming up next week. So go ahead and subscribe if you want to watch that and see why it's probably the best true wireless earphone on the market today. So that's it. Oracle Mark II. See you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.